You are in for a real treat. This episode was originally recorded for my other podcast, but for you, it's been upgraded and transformed, and now you have the Ask the Pro show. So everything mentioned in this episode will now be found on chrisdufay.com, plus so much more, as I've designed the Ask the Pro podcast and chrisdufay.com to give you exactly what you need to grow your business success and for you to have the money, the freedom, and the happiness you want, making a bigger and better impact to the world unselfishly. So now it's time to delve straight into this episode, and I want you to lap up and enjoy every single second of it. The man, Hayden Wilson, thank you very much for coming on to the Turning Pro Academy. I'm thrilled to finally get you on here because we've been wanting to do this for a little while now, and I know you've got some killer insights because you are a man in the know, and we talk about this stuff all the time. So, Hayden, big thank you. And
thank you very much, brother.
It's all good, and I would love for you, if someone didn't know who Hayden Wilson was, tell them why you're so phenomenal.
Well, firstly, it's highly probable they don't know who I am.
Oh, bollocks. Come on, brother.
But no, look, I started working in the IT industry about 6 years ago. 2 years into that, decided it wasn't for me and decided that fitness was, and then sort of jumped in full depth and started working for a fairly high-profile private gym brand called Doherty's Gym, and sort of took off from there and started doing bits and pieces and creating websites for a few different brands we did. And then that sort of gave me a bit of a brainstorm to start doing some of my own stuff. And then, I was seeing other people in the industry, John Goodman, for example, and then Bedros Keuilian, just really killing it. And I'm thinking, I love this stuff. It's so important, especially for personal trainers and the service industry in general, that, with this online world emerging so quickly, I wanted to help personal trainers in particular get themselves out there and learn how to do some of the stuff that bigger businesses were doing without needing to have a huge budget or having the huge leverage, just learning how to do the basic things right, I think, and so I sort of took off from there.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic, mate, because I think the point you hit really well was personal trainers really need this, and obviously we both know that hands-on, absolutely, that's why we do what both of us do. Why do you think, where do you think trainers are going wrong in the first place?
I think there's a couple of things that are going on. So the first thing is they're not differentiating themselves. I was looking at a post last night. They're a little bit confused on whether they're a brand or whether they're an individual. So you'll see, for example, a brand, someone that wants to be known as an entire company. Even if they are small, you can still, make it sound like you are a company and act in that way. So half their post will be about we and talking as a collective.
Yep.
And then you'll see a post just randomly thrown in there that's about that uses the letter I, like I did a set of squats this morning, and it's important for trainers to realize, are they a brand and it's, they're doing stuff together, or are you an individual that's doing squats and doing things by yourself? So I find that making that mistake is one that it's just happening too often, in my opinion. So decide what you want to be to start with.
That's a great point, mate. You really hit the nail on the head with that one, because I see that all the time now that you've said that. And I think there's a massive disconnect with the communication of what that person's trying to do with their business, with their business brand, and with their personal branding as well.
Yeah, I reckon this, and probably one of the second things is just going, I'm huge on branding. I love, making things look professional and putting the right step forward. I think that, it's not just a matter of quickly, it's great to take action, don't get me wrong, but if you're just quickly throwing something up there just for the sake of doing it, it's probably not going to work as well as what you would expect, or you're not going to get the results. So having a plan, which many personal trainers, many businesses in general just don't really have. So, just doing your research and looking at exactly what a social media plan is, or some of the stuff we're going to talk about later about lead generation and conversion. All this stuff may be foreign to most of the listeners who are fresh, but some really basic research and listening to this podcast is going to help them get the knowledge that's required.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, why don't we give your podcast a plug, Hayden?
So I've got a podcast. I've done 50 episodes now called the PT Profit Podcast, and I've been very lucky and fortunate to have some huge guests on, like Lane Norton and Charles Poliquin, yourself, Chris, and some other up there. You're up there, mate. Don't worry. And I've been really lucky that initially my first episode was with Nick Mitchell, so a huge name to start off the bat, starting with a cold cold email that I sent him, a really nice guy, and he's had a huge impact in the industry and really leveling up how personal trainers actually, one, conduct their business, and two, just huge on using the right form and all that stuff that personal trainers should be looking into. And then I started snowballing that, so I started to get Lane Norton on, Chris Gethin, and then just start. And once you get a couple of good guests, like if anyone's out there thinking of starting a podcast, like I know you have two, Chris, and then I've got one myself. If anyone's thinking about starting one, just start putting the feelers out there. I know you and I would have sent countless emails to people, and whether they follow up, or whether they get back to you, or whether they don't, and you follow up, and you just got to be relentless. And it's a numbers game, so just try and get as many interesting people on, and that's my advice.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up, mate, because I think you're doing a great job with it. And I obviously want to give you a massive plug and get the listeners over there to listening for you as well, because I think getting this information out there, especially to the PTs of the world, is just absolutely needed. And it's a good point that you put on. Like, I think if someone is thinking about starting a podcast or starting a YouTube channel or starting like anything, obviously we're going to be delving in this episode about marketing, and obviously content marketing is so important. And that's what we're doing right now. Like, let's be straight up front and clear. You and I are having a conversation and we're putting this out into the world, having people listen to us and go, oh, these guys actually know what they're talking about, and then they can delve further. Like, we're going we're taking the step first and saying, hey, here's something for you, and then we can start developing the relationship from there.
Yes, exactly. Give, like Gary Vaynerchuk always says, give, and then take, or ask. Yeah. So you just got to punch out all the information you can before asking. You're not going to, he always uses the analogy of going to a party, like say for Twitter, for example. People on Twitter think that you just go in there and just blast out thousands of messages. It's like going to a party and just shooting out, look at me, look how great I am, I do awesome things, and everyone's just standing around going, who's that guy? Yeah,
and you're a Muppet.
You are a Muppet, and that's what we're trying to eliminate.
No, I like it. Okay, let's go into the importance of marketing for personal trainers. Now, what do you think, what avenues, what steps, what tips, what advice, what insights can you start rolling straight off the tongue that you think is going to be absolute killer?
All right, so I see two different ways people can go. They can go the paid route, which is, and most of these have paid or unpaid options, but paid, you can use Facebook or pay-per-click with Google. I think, my personal opinion, for beginners, it's probably not as easy, simply because some of the stuff can be a little bit complicated, and getting to know how things work, especially on a tight budget for new businesses, it can be a little bit tricky. Of course, there are a bunch of courses out there that people can look into that we can chuck in the show notes. But my personal opinion is that, unpaid content marketing, exactly what we spoke about 2 minutes ago, such as podcasting, using your YouTube channel, is really big for trainers, simply because it's so, tangible and you can see them. Facebook posts, blogging. We're going to talk a lot about blogging, because I think that's pretty much the number one way. And then, of course, microblogging, Twitter, and even Snapchat and Instagram videos nowadays are quick and easy, and, the consumers just lap it up.
Now, explain the reason why you think trainers should be putting this content out there. Like, how, if someone's scratching their head going, okay, it sounds good, Hayden and Chris, but really, why should I be doing it?
So basically, a lot of people talk about the information age, and I believe we're past that now. I think we're in the communications age. So it's not just about throwing information out there. It's almost like cultivating all of what's out there, because, with obviously with the internet, there's just billions and billions and billions of data that just smash us in the face every single day. So now it's about finding the right people that can sift through all the bullshit and find the 1% of useful information that's going to be relevant in particular to those sort of people, which is why I think that niching down, such as yourself, looking at building people's businesses with the Turning Pro Academy and everything else that you've done, Chris, is so important, because it's pinpointing and niching down and deciding, yes, I'm going to help these people. And this is if you want to build your personal training business, or if you want to build your online business, this is how we do it. This is the steps that we need to take. So blogging, for example, regularly 3-4 times a week, and then sharing that. I think that the biggest thing that a lot of people are forgetting is knowing how to share it to the right areas. So rather than just like throwing it out there and seeing what sticks to the wall, get a plan into place, like I mentioned earlier, and decide I'm going to concentrate and get really good at YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm not going to worry about LinkedIn. I'm not going to worry about Snapchat. Just focus on what's important and just listen to the right people and trust your intuition and do research on a few different people and decide, well, that guy's not really speaking to me and I don't get him. It's not that you don't like him as a person. You're just looking at the information and going, look, the way he's speaking to me, I'm not really learning that way. Let's discover a different avenue.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a split with so much more for you. Now, I know you're listening and tuning in because you know how important your health is and how this can also catapult your business. This is why I'm very happy to say that this podcast is sponsored by My Body Blends and my favorite, the Superfood Elixir, the powerful greens drink. Now, this is designed specially to boost energy, aids detoxification, enhances the ability to burn fat, supports healthy carbohydrate metabolism, and best of all, is voted best tasting greens drink. Now, myself and the My Body Blends team are looking for ambassadors to join, so you and your clients get the health benefits plus adding in a strong income stream for you and your business. The ambassador program, which is by application only, means you get exclusive access to sell My Body Blends products like Superfood Elixir to your clients, plus giving you the special ambassador pricing and bonuses. So once you become an ambassador, you can join the other top health and fitness players that are adding thousands to their week's income. Now, there is only a limited number of ambassadors we are taking on board, as this is a tribe leading the way together. So to apply and to join, go to mybodyblend.com/ambassador or add the checkout code that is TurningPro, all one word, when you're going to get your own Superfood Elixir to order. Plus, you're going to get free shipping and a bonus to save yourself over $250 instantly. So just use that coupon code TurningPro in the checkout and you can save over $250 right now, all on mybodyblend.com. I think that's absolutely spot on. And a good point that you touched on then was like getting the actual content out there. And I kind of look at it as in you have to market your marketing. Do you know what I mean? You're using your content to get out there, but you've actually got to put the effort in to actually get that marketing out into the right people and making sure it's getting the right connection. And another really good thing, and I hammer this home to all the clients, focus on simplicity. Bring it back. Like, don't go YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, bloody, you name it, everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do a YouTube channel and that's what you've decided on, just do that. Focus on that only. Literally forget about everything else. Yes, you might throw a couple posts on Facebook just because you're probably procrastinating on that mofo anyway, but just do it. Do you know what I mean? Because I see so many people and they've got like, oh, I've got 6 videos on YouTube. And I was like, guess what? Nobody's watched them. Like, it's not doing it. It's actually wasted your time. So that was a really, really good point. So I guess kind of like the way and what we're talking about is kind of like piecing what together is this magical sales funnel, and how obviously we're talking about the top of it at the moment, the content marketing, getting that stuff out, getting people to know, like, and trust you so much. What about for the PTs? Let's talk about maybe like lead generation. Like, how do you think PTs either on the online world or the face-to-face world can start developing lead generation?
I think the biggest thing is learning exactly what lead generation is and understanding what qualified leads are versus unqualified leads. So, for example, an unqualified lead would just be someone randomly that sort of sent you an email that has nothing really to do with anything, the question, and you sort of throw something back and see what happens. And then you've got a qualified lead who's someone who's red hot. They know what your products are. They know who you are, and they're interested in working together and, swapping your information for money, which is what we're all in this for. In the end, let's not beat around the bush. We're here to make money and of course help people. But just working out the difference between, someone that's actually interested in you and someone that's wasting your time.
Absolutely. That's great call. Now,
so I think,
keep going.
So I think that the main thing that was to answer the actual question, using things like content marketing and paid advertising. But, the main goal that a lot of people forget here is one, the plan, as I've spoken about twice, but also having a specific call to action with each post. Having a call to action is something that, people just are forgetting about, and they just need to be able to, draw that customer in and point them in a specific direction and move them down that funnel.
Beautiful. Now, I think obviously the lead generation side of things, like people usually struggle with, and I think everything that we've covering so far, that's why I kind of like asked a question straight after the content marketing, because that's kind of it. And you said that as well. So I think that's perfecto. But let's take the next step down from what someone has to do there. And obviously we start talking about the conversion process. Like, how do you think someone gets someone slightly saying, hey, Hayden, I'm interested on coming on board? Like, they're kind of like putting their hand up. What do you think the next steps are from there?
I think it's all about positioning yourself correctly. Positioning yourself is in the initial steps, and then once someone's interested, it's about converting them correctly and giving them knowledge. And I think setting the expectations really important. So before they've even bought off you, they know what they're going to get. So then they're not disappointed when you're helping them.
Yeah.
And setting that expectation that you're not going to do the work for them. It's going to be back and forth. It's a team effort,
That's a good point. Actually, keep going. I'm going to touch on that. I'm writing notes.
Note away. So basically just knowing what the expectations are from both parties, and then I guess telling them exactly, what's included and providing as much value as you can. I always say provide more value rather than cutting costs. So, a lot of people out there, especially small businesses, and I can understand this, do work on a tight budget and will try and, for lack of a better word, screw you down or try and get a cheaper price. If you want to play in that space, that's fine. But I think you and I both play in the space where you prefer not to cut costs and devalue your own product, but to instead add value and really help that in particular client reach their goals. So goal setting expectations, and then, not screwing down your price.
I think it's a good point, because the setting expectations is what I see so many people get wrong. And especially I see when clients come on board, that's something is kind of fixing up. And I kind of use sometimes maybe like what's called like an onboarding sequence. So say when a client does come on board, you're going to have, say, a series of videos, or it could just any sort of communication method, could just be a few emails, but you're walking them through what they should expect, what they're going to get, and also setting the boundaries of the relationship as well, such as our communication. Like, say if you have an online personal training client, you maybe don't want them to be messaging you 24/7. So therefore you've got to set the boundaries for what has to happen. Say for my own physique coaches clients with that, they have to check in on every Friday. You send your photos, your weight, your girth measurements on Friday. So then scheduling out, I know I have to sit down on Saturday morning and I'm doing your plan. I've got everything in front of me and I can go through it properly. And I think a lot of people need to kind of have those systems, checklists, processes in place for themselves. And I think that goes for any type of business as well. Yeah,
I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They don't set that expectation of when the communication happens. So I had a client and he's very, very busy. He's got 200 and something, 240 online clients. He's a personal trainer, and he was just getting smashed. He was working 16-hour days. He'd just been married and just had a baby. So, family life was calling. And as a new parent, you want to be around that baby as much as you can and helping the mother and whatnot. But he was just working his ass off, no time for anything, 16 to 18-hour days. And he came to me and go, Hayden, help me. Like, I'm screwed. I have no idea about time efficiency, and people are just always messaging me. And he sent me a couple of messages, and unfortunately they were just so long. Like, I couldn't even get through them, and I wasn't even the receiving party. I was just looking at it for him. And I'm talking like six to 7 pages per email.
Oh.
Yeah, painfully long, and it's just full of fluff, full of bullshit.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set like you, like Friday is the day to check in. If they don't have their reports in by Friday, we do a Tuesday report day as well. So if your day is Friday, so we break them up and go, these bunch of people get their reports in by Friday. These are a Tuesday. We're going to start checking emails once a day for 1 hour specifically. And that's the only time we're going to be on emails. We're not going to have it open in the background. And then we get them back. Their reports will be back to them by Sunday night if you're a Friday person, or they'll be Friday morning if you're a Tuesday reporter. And it's really just about getting your timing right and working out how much time you should actually be putting into things rather than just always being available. And like you said, 24/7, because unfortunately, if you give that option, people I guarantee you, they will just continuously just use email as a chat tool. They'll be ringing your phone. They'll be SMSing you, especially in the personal training industry. They'll be out for dinner or something. Can I have this? Can I have that?
Do I have the fish or do I have the chicken?
And exactly. And it's just like, when you're first starting, you think it's great and they're relying on you and you feel useful and you feel validated. But then you realize that after you get more than 10 clients, 20, 30, 50 clients, receiving that many messages over just simple little things that, you can provide the documentation early on and let them know and the training that, this stuff's so basic. And unfortunately, and I find the bigger the name in the industry, for example, if you're a pro, and I'm not going to name any names, but they leverage off their name, but their service isn't up to the same standard.
Yeah.
So you'll find that just because you hire someone with an amazing body and that's done a few things in the industry, often their communication will lack because they've taken on too many clients, or they don't obviously know, or they haven't got the right people in place to send the documentation. There's a myriad of problems that we need to look at, but definitely setting the expectations is what it comes down to in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and it's just like reminded me. I actually had one of my clients call yesterday, and I was going through with her, and a piece of homework that I gave for her to do, because I just thought of this before because I saw the email come in, was I had to have her put together literally step by step what would happen when a client comes on board. Like what steps do they have to take? What steps do you have to take? And literally making a checklist so you can create a system, because I was like, your goal is to be able to give this to somebody else and they can follow it to the T with no problems whatsoever. Yes. And it's kind of having that McDonald's mentality. Do you know what I mean? A massive 100%. Business run off 15-year-olds. Like they are just following a system. The burger patty, it's on. Why am I thinking about Macca's? Why are we talking about Macca's? But you know what I'm getting at. As in, it's a step-by-step system. It is fail-proof. It is idiot-proof. And I think if you have that in place for your business, it's so much easier to follow, because we all have our bad days. But at the end of the day as well, you also don't just want to be that solo person. Like, that's not a business. You want to be able to bring on coaches, you want to be able to bring on staff, and you want to be able to start delegating these tasks out.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And I think that, I know we're going to touch on it or talk about it in depth, but, getting the right documents to start with. We're talking about these documents, but I think we should go into exactly what sort of documents online personal trainers
Let's do it, brother.
Have.
Come on, get in there.
All right. So initially, I thought about this a lot, and I've helped produce many documents for personal trainers to do exactly this, because it's so easy to get caught up in, you think it's just a quick email, but then you end up spending half an hour on every client straight away detailing what your services are, and half an hour times, and this is just to prospects, they're not even clients yet. So prospects, you're explaining what exactly your services are, and all of a sudden you've wasted probably 14 to 16 hours in a month or a week, even depending on what you are. There's so much bullshit that goes on. So I think you need an initial client survey, and this is where you talk about, you get all their details. So it's very easy and simple to set up. You can go to fiverr.com, fiverr.com, and get a really easy PDF document set up. This is where you're going to ask things like what's their weight, what's their height, what's their estimated body fat percentage, or if they've got a DEXA or whatever body fat, they can put that in. What exercises are they currently doing? What's their current diet like? How much are they sleeping? What supplements they're on? Really getting to know the client. There's probably about 50 different questions that you need to ask just to really get to know them before you can prescribe them the right program. So you definitely need an initial client survey. Then you need to punch into, obviously, once you get that back, I think it's important to have a proper template set up for their diet and a proper template set up for their programming. So you're not just sending them an Excel document with no branding, because unfortunately, as you probably know, Chris, people will send this to other people, and sharing is caring, but when you've put hours and hours into something, it's not good to just send it out into the World Wide Web without any branding. So I definitely recommend chucking your logo on there and getting some social media presence. So if they do send it, at least it acts as somewhat of a lead generation. And I think that once you've got the program and the diet, it's important to have a follow-up sheet as well, which is just, I like to ask, because you're just going to it's all about leverage here. So it doesn't matter if we've got one client or 200 clients. It's we don't need thousands of different forms. We're going to have the follow-up form is going to have their name, what date they're filling it in, and this is the weekly one they're going to send in. And then we're going to have what was the easiest thing this week, like as in what didn't you struggle with, what did you get completed? So did they lose fat, or did they smash their goals or whatever? And so what are the top 3 challenges? So when you set these boundaries, I know we mentioned boundaries before, when you set these boundaries initially, especially only 3, you're not going to get these emails that are just long and tedious. Oh, I had a trouble with this, and then my wife did this, and blah blah blah. So knowing exactly what their 3 biggest problems are, and that limits them to only talk about stuff that needs to be spoken about, and then take it from there.
That is absolutely gold what you let loose then. Seriously, I
know what I mean, though?
I like listening. Absolutely, say thanks to Hayden. Thank you, Hayden.
I'm gonna send it to you. If anyone wants a copy of that, just to email Chris and he can get in touch with me and he'll forward it on. So
sweet. Now I'm going to get bombarded with emails.
Thousands.
No, it's all good. No, that was okay. Beautiful, mate. I really appreciate that. That was really, really good. Okay, now let's get to some nitty-gritty golden nuggets that I know you've got packed away up your sleeve, mate. What do you think are a couple of the must-dos and must-not-dos when wanting to build an online fitness business?
Okay, so what to do? I think the biggest thing is just to get started with a basic website. I think too many people get analysis or paralysis by analysis, whichever way it goes around. So they don't even know where to get started. So I think basically the way it works is get a website up, and even something super basic. Like if you look at my website, I think it cost me $100 for a template, and then you can seriously get away with like $5 a month hosting, especially when you're first getting started. You can be online tomorrow, and it's very quick and easy. It takes about 2 hours to get a basic website going, and I've got a guide in my membership site that makes it very easy. But you can get something up within 2 hours, and then you can start getting the word out there. So without even having a website, no one even knows who you are. You're going to be stuck with using, and especially using like a Hotmail.com email on your business cards. I see that problem. So
that is an absolute deal breaker for me.
I hate it too, but all too often we see it. And anyone listening, if you are doing that, it's okay. But just so you know, you can buy a domain.
No, it's not okay. If you have a Hotmail.com, no.
It's okay up until this point now. Because we're about to tell you how for $12 you can buy a domain and get yourself some very basic $5 a month hosting, and then all of a sudden you're leveling up your professionalism by 3,000%, because instead of using at hotmail.com, you can all of a sudden have Chris at chrisdufay.com and look 3,000 times better, simply because, in my opinion, it looks very average, and I know you share those same thoughts, Chris. So getting a website up, and then just starting to share stuff on different social media. So getting your Facebook page set up. And I think Facebook's pretty much a given. I think everyone should be on there in some form, whether you concentrate on that or Instagram or YouTube. I think everyone should sort of at least have a Facebook page, simply because everyone's on there. So getting that up, and then like you said earlier, just choosing one platform. So a huge mistake trainers make is to try and be everything to everyone. I'm going to be the fat loss specialist. I'm going to show people how to build muscle. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, and just being everything. Like if you want it, I've got it. And then pretty much if you try and be everything to everyone, you'd be nothing to no one. So, and don't quote me on that, because I think I stole it from someone else. I can't remember who, but you just can't be. You can't be everywhere, and you can't do everything. So choose something, keep your focus, definitely. And another thing I find is although personal trainers, they're very big on self-development and learning, too many just sort of let it go by the wayside and aren't reading. I'm a huge believer in reading, listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, just a continuous learning journey, and obviously doing seminars. I think Brian Tracy mentions that every year you should put at least 10% of your own income back into learning, and I'm a huge believer of that as well, if not more. The average caps out at about 10%, but when you're first learning, you can put as much as 20 to 50% back into the business. Traveling, I know you've done a ton of traveling, Chris, learning from guys like Nick Mitchell and Charles Poliquin around the globe. And I think that's so important that, as much as the 8-week training courses teach you, and I say that in the most sarcastic tone possible, there's so much more to learn that they just don't even cover. To be honest, they're not cutting it as far as if you want to make any sort of decent money, you need to be able to speak about things more in depth, learning about contest prep, if that's the way you want to go down. Go and seek out the best. Travel to America like you did, Chris, and seek out the best bloody contest prep specialists.
Yeah.
And then know that you're going to own it. That's your space. You're going to be the contest prep specialist. I had Nathan Harmon on my podcast and he's not even a competitive bodybuilder, but he's learnt from some of the best and just invested all of his time. And now he's got some of the best clients that he works with simply because he knows exactly what to do and how to manipulate all their carbohydrates and fats and water loading and all that super exciting scientific stuff. But it's because he's gone to the right people and learnt from the right people rather than just sitting back and just expecting it to happen with an 8-week course. We obviously know that there's so much more business and just learning business. You can spend years and years and to be honest, you never stop learning. So
no, the day you stop learning is the day you die.
Exactly, and so many people I think don't even take on that approach, unfortunately. But the good news is anyone listening to this obviously is, especially now that we're 30 minutes in, someone that's listening is going to be keen to take those steps. And I think it's so important that podcasting is huge. It's always up to date, relevant information depending on who you're listening to. But audiobooks are great. Reading relevant blogs and just selecting the right people to listen to, and then just really embracing it, and then starting to use it in your own training. You pick up bits and pieces from here. So I call them mentors. Like every time I read a book, this person's mentoring me. Like it's great to have a mentor online and someone you pay for and have that accountability. But then you don't have to be in constant communication with this mentor. So every time you read a book, every time you listen, every time you're reading a blog post, just imagine that person directly talking to you and mentoring you, because it's all learning, it's all a journey.
Absolutely, mate. I'm a huge believer. You just have to go to the right people. You have to go to the right sources. You have to keep learning the whole time. And that was the thing. Like I spent years and it was constantly putting the money. It was an investment, and I absolutely see it. I look back to it today. I traveled bloody everywhere to see everybody. And you know what? Even last night, I had a consultation with John Meadows just talking about my own physique plan. Do you know what I mean? Coming out of competition. And it was just I want to keep going to the best people possible and keep getting those people's input the whole time. And it was funny you said about listening to audiobooks and everything like that, because I'm a big audiobook listener and podcast listener as well. Was obviously it takes me about a 20-minute motorbike ride to go from my villa to the gym. And it's a bit of a pain in the ass having to go 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Because it's actually the only gym that's half decent around here. So I was like, all right, I've got to go there to get a good workout in. But I was like, you know what? That's an extra 40 minutes a day where I plug in while I ride. Do you know what I mean? Listening to an audiobook or something. I was like, that's just extra study time for me. I'm massively winning it.
Exactly. And the funniest thing that happened to me is pretty much how I got started on this is I had a DVD player in my car and it had an iPhone 4 charger, and I just got an iPhone 5 and I plugged in this adapter and plugged in my iPhone, and it immediately started sparking it. And I believe it blew up. I have no idea about all that kind of stuff. So I think it blew up. So I'm going, what am I going to do? I've got no music. And then I'm just like, all right, well, I'll just start listening to these things called podcasts. And I started getting on to Pat Flynn and a few other guys, Internet Business Master and a few of those guys. And I'm thinking, all right, I'll give this a crack. And after 2 days, I was just absolutely hooked.
Of course, yeah.
I was just everywhere I'd go, I'd get up early just for the sake of getting up early. I mean, I started work at 6 o'clock one day and I decided I was going to get up at 3 o'clock just so I could go to the gym, listen to audiobooks at the gym, on the way to the gym, go for a walk, listen to audiobooks. It was just ridiculous, and I sort of just threw myself in. And so, blessing in disguise, my stereo blowing up, decided that I was going to just be learning freaking 80, listening to 80 to 100 hours a month on this, on different podcasts and learning. And so, ironically, it sort of saved me.
Beautiful. All right. Now, before I let you go, Hayden, there's 2 questions that I want to fire your way, mate, and I want you to fire the answers right back. All right?
Okay.
First one, what is your definition of happiness?
My definition of happiness, just throw me off. Waking up and, being able to get out of bed and, not be concerned about the little things. I know this is going to be the most cliche answer, whatever. Just getting up and being able to do what you want to do without anyone telling you otherwise. So
no compromise.
Yeah, no compromise, and not necessarily being your own boss. I mean, it's great to be, and it's good to have. I think it's important to have freedom, even if you are working for someone else. But, being able to make your own decisions is what happiness would be to me. So you're not constantly having someone looking over your shoulder.
Nice, mate. I like that. All right. And last one, what are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for you letting me come on your podcast, speaking this. Now, honestly, though, like having opportunities like this, connecting with like-minded people, I think that's so important for everyone to realize that, me and you connected, for an outsider and someone with a mentality of scarcity, they would think these guys are in competition. Why are they talking to each other? But we've both discussed it, and we're like, no, there's an abundance. There's so many trainers out there that need our help. And especially for personal trainers themselves, don't be scared to try and connect with anyone in the same industry. There's so many opportunities out there that will present themselves when you start to connect with people that you might consider, quote, competitors. But honestly, everyone can be friends. Everyone can do business together. And I've seen that with Tony Doherty. He's created a monster expo, which is now the Arnold Classic Australia. And he has people at the expo that pay money that are in direct competition. Like he owns gyms as well. We've got gym companies there, and all these other businesses that Tony runs are in direct competition with the people that are there. So, in some aspects you can definitely collaborate. In other aspects, you might want to keep things a little bit more to yourself. But honestly, just I'm grateful that we can jump on here and connect.
I appreciate that, mate. And I think it's so true. Like, I am just I just hate the scarcity mindset. You know what I mean? Like, if anyone around me kind of like brings that stuff up, I hate it. Like, I hate it. It's just, and that's the thing. There is more than enough success for everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, technically you and I might be in competition, but you know what? We're also good mates. Now that we've connected, we've been able to like keep chatting every so often. We help each other out. We come to each other with questions. If anything, we've just made each other better. We've improved our businesses because of it. And I've gotten a great relationship out of it as well. So it's my 2 cents. All right, Hayden, where do people go to get more about you?
All right. Go to PT Profit, so it's PTPROPHET.com, and then just jump over to my Facebook, facebook.com/PT Profit.
Sorted. I'm putting...
Any questions? All good.
Sorted. I'm putting all the links in the show notes for you, my man. We're going to make sure people get on over to that. Big fan of everything that you're doing, Hayden. Massive thank you for taking the time for me and the listener, mate. And you and I are going to be chatting very soon. So now it's time for you to click on over to chrisdufay.com. That's chrisdufey.com to get all the guides and show notes. And if you are wanting the workshops where I walk you through how to build your online business, click on over to chrisdufay.com/start here. This is where I can give you the exact training guides and the workshops for exactly where you're at and the answers that you need. Now, every Friday I'm coming back to you with a new episode. So be sure to subscribe, and if you haven't already, you're going to be getting the world's best insights, the advice and the answers to give you the business, the money, the freedom and the success and happiness that you want. And I want to give you a huge muchas gracias for being here with me. And as always, get in touch with me via the site or via social, as Ask the Pro is about me giving you the answers that you need. So ask away.